love him.
There's no better time to shoot a spot three than after an offensive rebound.
Trae Young, from the logo, ties it at 104. He's back.
Or hate him.
2. Knicks no more fouls to give. It's a 9-0 New York run to lead by 9 with 1:13.
Trae Young is a name you simply can't ignore. An all-star? Certified. A standout among the NBA's next generation? No doubt. For many, Trae is a showman. For others, he's a notorious villain.
What I actually think now is you are very much so a showman, but yet that's been flipped into being this villain.
But how did he become one of the most polarizing figures in the league, and what makes him thrive amidst all the noise? Before we get into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. With the new NBA season underway, Trae Young's game is only getting colder, and we're not just talking about his ice-cold demeanor. Whether it's hitting deep threes from the logo or dishing out assists from every angle, his impact on the court keeps growing. And so does the intensity of the spotlight on him. Trae wasted no time reminding everyone, especially his critics, why he's one of the league's most electrifying talents. In the Hawks' season-opening win over the Nets, Young filled up the stat sheet with 30 points, 12 assists, and 5 rebounds. Just 2 days later, the main man in Atlanta put on another show against LaMelo Ball and the Hornets, dropping 38 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, and 4 steals. By doing so, he joined Oscar Robertson as the only players in NBA history to start a season with back-to-back games of at least 30 points and 10 assists. Year after year, Trae continues to prove he's one of the best combinations of a bucket getter and playmaker the game has ever seen. At just 26 years old, he already ranks 4th all-time for the most games with 30-plus points and 10-plus assists. Yet, despite his remarkable talent, he is often excluded from conversations about the league's superstar point guards. Whether it's due to his team's struggles, his playing style, or even his attitude, Young's unique place in NBA history doesn't always get the recognition it deserves from the media. The 3-time All-Star was even voted the most overrated player in the NBA, according to an anonymous poll of 54 NBA players conducted by Sam Amick and Josh Robbins on The Athletic in 2023.
Players and media gets 50% of the votes. So now he has to deal with the people who actually don't like him.
Yep.
Right? So players don't like him. They rank him last at everything anyway.
Yep. Think he's overrated.
They call him overrated. The coaches don't like him.
But how did Trae Young go from a promising talent to the NBA's newest supervillain, even drawing comparisons to some of the most hated players in league history? From the very beginning, Trae has thrived on proving doubters wrong. Being one of the smaller players at every level he's played, he developed a relentless drive to ensure no one could punk him on the court. As a freshman at Norman North High School, seniors would often push him to the back of the line during drills. But even at just 5'8" and 130 pounds, Young firmly believed he was the best player in the gym, and he carried that same confidence throughout his career. The doubts surrounding Young's size followed him throughout his basketball journey. National recruiting services never ranked him as the top point guard in his class, despite his standout performances. Even on his own team, he was considered second to Porter Jr. However, Young used every slight as fuel.
It's like, well, he's maybe too small. He's maybe too, like, how many times did you hear that growing up?
I've heard that over and over again so much. And I mean, I've had he's too little, like, chants in high school, and even in college we would go on the road. I think Wichita State, it was crazy saying that. But I've been called small my whole life, and I've always just not necessarily just let that one thing fuel me, but that's just one of a few things.
As a sophomore, his AAU coach, Rodney Perry, sometimes had to pull him from games because Young would get too caught up in one-on-one battles, determined to prove he was better than anyone else on the floor. When matched against elite AAU point guards like Colin Sexton, Trevon Duval, and Tremont Waters, Young often turned games into personal showdowns, as though the rest of the team didn't exist. That intensity only grew during the summer before his senior year, when he attended Chris Paul's elite guard camp, featuring the best high school perimeter players. Young was already a national prospect, but not being considered number one bothered him deeply. He He always took it personally, Perry said. True to form, Young boldly declared his Mocan elite team would win Peach Jam, Nike's premier youth basketball tournament. Weeks later, alongside Michael Porter Jr., he backed up his words and led Mocan to victory. Young's competitive edge was further shaped by growing up in Oklahoma as an avid Thunder fan. With his father's connections as a former player, Trae often met NBA stars after games. Encounters with Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook left a lasting impression, especially as he watched them dominate on the court. Westbrook, in particular, influenced Young's mentality, instilling the belief that anyone wearing a different jersey was the enemy, no matter the relationship. That fiery mindset was evident years later in an NBA game when Young got into a heated exchange with Durant, despite the two having a long-standing connection. However, the defining moment in his pre-NBA journey came when he decided to stay in Oklahoma for college, turning down offers from powerhouse programs like Kentucky, Duke, and UCLA. Many questioned the move, including his father, suggesting it might limit his exposure. But under Lon Kruger's guidance, his profile skyrocketed as he grew into a great shooter and a skilled point guard. Young silenced every critic, breaking records and dominating the NCAA in a way no freshman had before. In 2017 to 2018, Trae became the first Division I player to lead the nation in points, 27.4 PPG, and assists, 8.8 APG in a single season. It was a bold gamble on himself, a hallmark of his career trajectory.
We're excited for Trae. He's worked hard. He's had a terrific freshman year, as you all know, and we'll keep getting better. And I think the NBA game is suited for him. The open floor, the transition, terrific passer, great vision, great creativity. He'll do well.
Despite his dominance in college, NBA scouts remained skeptical. Questions about his size, strength, and athleticism persisted, and many projected him as a late first-round or early second-round pick.
Listen, Trae Young can play. Anytime you're averaging 29 and 9 on a collegiate level, you're big time. There's no doubt about that. But he is so small. He is so incredibly small, and it's not like he's a Muggsy Bogues type individual with lightning speed that defends you 94 feet or something along those lines. I just view him, he's a guy that you can't leave alone. He can make a shot. There's no doubt about that. But on the NBA level, I think he'll get exposed.
Yet, Young defied expectations again, skyrocketing up the 2018 draft boards in a class filled with some of the most elite point guards in today's game. Selected 5th overall by the Atlanta Hawks after a trade with the Dallas Mavericks, he was immediately compared to Luka Doncic. It was the start of a downward trajectory for Young's popularity. As Luka showcased his brilliance with remarkable stats and skills rarely seen in a rookie, people questioned Atlanta's decision to swap him for Trae. Meanwhile, Young struggled to find his rhythm early in his NBA career, fueling the skepticism surrounding his ability to compete at the highest level. But instead of crumbling under the pressure, Trae turned the hunger for respect into a drive. He emerged as a dynamic scorer and playmaker in the second half of the season, silencing doubters with averages of 19.1 points, 8.1 assists, and 3.7 rebounds. His efforts earned him a spot on the 2019 NBA All-Rookie First Team, reigniting the buzz that had followed him since college, that Trae Young could be the next Stephen Curry. Even Curry himself took notice, offering high praise for the young guard's game.
Unbelievable. Just the confidence that he plays with. I call it the flair, but he always seems like he's always composed and knows what he's trying to do every time he has the ball in his hands. He does, he shoots a lot of deep threes and has a creativity to his game that's just so fluid to watch.
Trae Young didn't waste any time proving he could stand toe-to-toe with Luka Doncic. By his second year in the NBA, he was nearly averaging a stunning 30 points and 9 assists per game, becoming an all-star. But the first real test of his talent and his swagger came during his playoff debut in 2021 against the New York Knicks. And where better for a showdown than the hostile atmosphere of Madison Square Garden?
Message to Trae Young on behalf of the people of New York City and anyone who cares about actually playing basketball the right way. Stop hunting for fouls, Trae. Trae, that hawk's not going to fly in New York City. Come on. Play the game the right way. See if you can win. I think the Knicks are going to teach you a lesson.
Game 1 kicked off with the MSG crowd letting Trae have it. Boos rained down every time he touched the ball, and within minutes, chants targeting Young echoed throughout the arena. loud enough to be heard on live TV.
Last 3 years, they're psyched to be back in the postseason.
Despite the entire arena rooting for his failure, Trae delivered a dagger. In the final seconds of the game, he made a clutch floater with just 0.9 seconds left, sealing a dramatic win for the Hawks. The arena fell silent, and Trae couldn't resist letting everyone know Ice Trae had arrived, capping the moment with his signature shiver.
Here is Young, finds his spot. Young on the floater, puts it in with a miraculous shot.
Wow, what an
Knicks fans were stunned. How could a skinny 6'2" guard walk into their house and humiliate them like that? From then on, they made Trae their target. They booed him relentlessly, mocked his hair, cursed him, and one even went as far as spitting on him. The disrespect was real, and the atmosphere felt like it was Trae versus the entire world. This was his origin story.
Reggie Miller say he loves being the enemy.
Of course, he had the last laugh. The iconic moment? Young bowing to the MSG crowd after hitting a 30-footer in the final minute of the series-clinching Game 5. He wasn't just built for the spotlight, he owned it. The pressure of performing, the heart to take on odds, the ability to deliver, all the things needed to make a good basketball villain, he's got them. Trae finished the series averaging 29.2 points, 9.8 assists, and 2.8 rebounds on 44% shooting, cementing his status as Madison Square Garden's new public enemy #1. But he wasn't done yet.
Made him shoot that shot a little hard. 2.5 to go. Long three on its way. And Trae Young, ice cold, delivers it.
Trae carried the Hawks to their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance since 2015, further solidifying his stardom. Yet, for some reason, his name rarely enters the conversation about the NBA's elite point guards. Despite his playoff heroics, he's often overlooked, even snubbed from the All-Star game twice. The word overrated seems to follow him everywhere, not just from the fans.
He did come on
but also from skeptical media outlets.
He's overrated.
How?
I'm about to demonstrate here. He's too little to start with. He's a little Ice Trae. And you go, ooh,
Yeah.
he's Ice Trae.
Yeah.
Well, now he's just shivering cold. And he's often shivering cold because he shoots way too many threes and he misses way too many threes. And he turns the ball over way too much.
Perhaps that's why Young leaned into the role of the NBA's villain. Booed on the road and doubted in the headlines, he thrives on being underestimated. And the bigger the stage, the bigger Trae plays for the Hawks. So why doesn't he get the respect a lot of his peers do? It could be his physical stature, a shorter, leaner frame that doesn't fit the superstar mold. Some question his impact on the court, especially given the criticisms of his defense, or lack thereof, which often makes him a target for opposing offenses. Others point to his reliance on foul baiting to increase his scoring, rather than focusing on creating offense through pure playmaking. And then there's the Hawks' limited success as a team. In 7 seasons, Young has only reached the playoffs 3 times, with a lone deep run in 2021 standing out among early exits. Critics often argue that his stats and performances fail to drive team success, but the scrutiny doesn't stop there. His self-confidence can sometimes come off as arrogance, affecting his relationship with teammates and coaches. Reports of locker room conflicts only added fuel to the fire. The truth, however, is that Young is just as misunderstood as many different players out there. His fiery demeanor stems from playing with a relentless chip on his shoulder, driven by the constant battle against being overlooked due to his smaller size and ball-dominant play style. His intense competitiveness sometimes clashes with coaches who may not fully grasp the immense pressure he puts on himself to lead. Despite being a polarizing figure in the NBA, Trae Young has consistently backed up his reputation on the court. With career averages exceeding 25 points and 10 assists per game, he's established himself as a dynamic scorer and an exceptional playmaker, carrying the Hawks' offense night after night. But Trae's impact extends beyond the stat sheet. It's his resilience that truly sets him apart. Even amid constant criticism, Young stays locked in and continues to elevate his game. So, what's next for him? Until he proves he can lead a team to championship success, it's hard to say he's reached his ceiling. However, calling him overrated wouldn't be fair either. Perhaps the issue lies with the environment and organization he's in, rather than his talent. What if Trae found himself on a more stable championship caliber team? Would he be able to change his perception in the league? While the answer isn't clear, one thing is undeniable. He may be undersized, but Trae Young is never understated. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.